Catherine Busch is a graduate of UCLA, an award-winning filmmaker, an activist, a former nun, and the grandmother of Nevada County Public Access TV. We could not think of any better way to kick off Women's History Month than with a conversation with this amazing woman. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you.
Welcome. Nice to have you here.
Yeah.
I took a look at your website and just to fill myself in on your CV, and I have to say I was like, what is it this person does not do? I mean, you were a sister of St. Joseph's for 25 years.
Yeah.
You were a teacher, a nurse, a medical photographer, director, editor, writer, videographer. It's just amazing. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about how your life took this path? It looks to me that your core is about being of service.
Yes, that actually was the charism of the Sisters of St. Joseph, to love God and the dear neighbor, and in service to them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest thrills, or not thrills, but the things that I'm most proud of is starting the public education and government access in Nevada County.
How long ago was that?
I would say at least 35. Yeah.
Years.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But I started, when I entered the convent, I thought I actually thought I would be doing domestic help because I didn't do that well in high school. And somehow I was accepted into a college program. At that time, the sisters were teachers and nurses.
Right.
And so I graduated from Carlow University. I taught school for 4 years, and I lived with women who really loved what they were doing. And I was a good teacher, I know that, but I didn't love it the way they did. Mm-hmm. So I went to the head of the community and I said, I don't really like it the same way that the other sisters do. So she said, well, how about nursing? So I said, I'll give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so
why not?
Why not, right? And then I went to nursing school, and while I was in nursing school, I used films a lot when I was teaching, and so I suggested to the school, the nursing school, that I would get some films that on the circulatory system, the nervous system, and so on. And they were thrilled because, like I said, they were wonderful clinicians but terrible teachers.
Right.
So the medical photography department brought over the projector. I threaded it up, showed the film, and then took it back. And when I walked into the department, there was all of these images, and I just felt at home.
You were fascinated. You were hooked.
I was hooked.
Right.
Yeah. So fortunately for me, they needed help, and so after school at 3 o'clock, I would go over to the department, and because I had the proper clothes on, the nursing program, I wasn't a nurse at that time. I was studying to be a nurse.
Right.
So anyway, I worked there as a helper, and went on the floor with the people who worked in that department. And then I did a year's internship as a medical photographer, and then I was hired. And so I was there for 4 years.
And your passion was born.
It was.
And
yeah.
so when I look at the list of the films and programs that you've worked on, we don't have enough time to list them all here, but we talked before the show, and you were wanted to talk about 3 specific projects.
Yes.
The first is the Face of Wisdom, I believe is about older women.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The Face of Wisdom, Stories of Elder Women.
Elder women.
I interviewed women over 70, and the reason I did that, and the reason I did women, and the reason I did culturally different women, was I wanted to get more of the feminine into the mix of how attitudes are shaped and decisions are made. And one of the shows won a national first award, so that was gratifying for sure. The second series was
Spirit of the Trees.
Spirit of the Trees.
Okay.
And I didn't produce that. I directed and edited that. And it explores the link between trees and forests and Native American cultures. And I filmed all over the country, including Hawaii. And it was only Native people's interviews, only Native American music, and only Native American art. And so
and you incorporated into the film.
Into the film,
Got
right,
it.
right. So I just, the only non-Native person was me.
Was you.
Yeah. And so I just tried to honor what I had to work with. And I have such respect for Native American people that, I mean, I really gave it my best.
I would love to see that. We'll get to that in a sec. And then
Okay.
the third piece that I think you are well known for is We the People, which is a docu-series, correct?
Yeah, it's an educational documentary series. The shows, because I worked at a film company for 13 years, somewhere in between all these other things. While I was going to UCLA. Because I was a teacher, I knew that they had to be somewhere around 15 minutes, because otherwise the film would be too long for any kind of discussion or any kind of build up to the actual viewing of the program. The reason, the motivation for the series was, or is, when I first heard about the incarceration, I was 40.
So we're talking about the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Just a little context.
I didn't know about it. I mean, I was a teacher,
Right.
Nothing in the books, nothing. People back east didn't know anything about that. And so when I first heard about it, I thought, I got to do something about that. When I get a chance, I'm going to do that. And so the California Museum commissioned me to do 25 interviews with Japanese people who had been in the camps when they were kids.
Right.
And so once I had that material, I said to the museum, you can't just leave this, at a kiosk or in the drawer somewhere. We have to do something with it. And so I created this series where it begins with a little background about the people and their immigration here, and then it goes right up to Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And then the second one is the actual incarceration. Right. And then the 442nd, which is an all Japanese regiment, which is the most honored regiment for its size in the history, to this day, in the history of the military. I did one on the people who helped, because people stood up. Some people stood up for them, where
neighbors and local people.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And some saved the farms of the Japanese people.
So when they came home, the farms were intact.
Yes, it was rare, mm-hmm. but it did happen. Mm-hmm. And then the next to the last one is the beginning of the Japanese American Citizens League, where a group of young people wanted to do something, wanted to be activists because of what happened. And the JACL is still a vital organization for the Japanese people and for others who are interested. And then the last show is a way to look at what happened, and
lessons to be learned for the future and so on.
Lessons for sure, but it's a way. It's basically a challenge to do something about, because taking this particular thing that happened in history, and the show is called that last show is called "Could This Happen Again?" And yes, it could. And unless people who understand that it's wrong, that there's some sort of dialogue or discussion. And so I built into the whole package a teacher's overview, optional questions for to start a discussion, because that was the whole point of doing the series, is for people to talk to each other about it by using something that is history. It's not hearsay or
right, it's fact,
but it's fact, and have people talk about it in local groups, small groups, churches, libraries, any place that's interested, history, anything that would be
conducive to a social justice discussion, or church, or a community group. No, I think that's really, and it's incredibly relevant to today.
Yes.
Don't forget the past, or you'll relive it, or whatever the cliche is. So, how can people get a hold of you? We'll put that in the show notes as well. But if people are interested, how can they contact you?
I think it's being put up as we're talking. The link, because it is here at NCTV, Nevada County Media.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
awesome.
it just click on it.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We'll make that very clear. Well, I could talk to you for much longer. Thank you for your work. It's so important. You're an inspiration, and happy to kick off Women's History Month with your story. It's fascinating. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.